we've talked about how I think 85% of Americans are unhappy with what they do, and it may just be because of they hate their job or they're in a business situation where they have a bad business partner, which I think you kind of had some of the both in that.
I don't think it was necessarily a bad business partner on that respect. I think it was just competing ideas about what it was supposed to be.
Right. Yeah.
It really was. Because I don't think there was any nefarious or malicious intent on anyone's part. And I was young. I went from making $10 an hour to making six figures in a space of a year, and which was crazy. I grew up with nothing, and to start earning that kind of money where you was like, okay, I don't know what to do with all this. I guess I'll just go buy stupid shit.
Yeah.
And,
the American dream.
Yeah. And so it hit me eventually after years on the road and working third shift, and I'll be gone for 6 weeks, come home for 2. The only people I'm really seeing in any social aspect are the crew of guys I'm working with, and I'm the boss, so it's not like, it's cool to hang out and have a beer with them, but like there's no, at some point I have to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
At some point I have to, I might have to, put my foot in it, and say, we got to get this done. And I need in my mind, it needed a bit of a separation from, some people can't switch roles that way. Some people can't understand, like today I'm wearing friend hat. Tomorrow I'm wearing boss hat,
Yep.
And so I just, as a way of just not crossing those lines, I tended to be a bit more insular and not do that. And it started to get real lonely and real, like, how do I talk to people? What, like, I'm a very social person, and I don't, like, I come home after 6 weeks on the road working third shift and everybody else's day shift, and then I'm going to hang out with everybody, and all their jokes are inside jokes because they've been hanging out, and I'm the guy that's playing catch up the entire time.
Right.
And it was a lot of things. So it was a lot of those things where it's like the money's great, but it ain't that great.
But you're also an employee. We always encourage people to be self-employed and be your own boss and eventually be the one running the show.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a lot of your issue too, is you weren't. It wasn't your thing. It wasn't your gig.
Yeah, I couldn't say when.
Yeah.
The only way to say when was to completely go. Yeah.
And now I'm sure you're way happier now that you are the owner of the business. And
I definitely am. And it's reawakening old experiences and going, oh yeah, I can do this. This is something I'm good at.
Yeah.
Because it's something I just almost completely shelved for a decade.
It may be another thing too that people that are like all three of us, entrepreneurial people, even Jesse, I guess, we're not happy working for other people, but we can do a good job.
Yeah.
We can work really well for other people, but we're happiest when we're doing our own thing, like what we want to do.
There's just, I think, at least for me, it is like at some point, if I'm working for somebody else and they tell me to do something that I know is just like, that's wrong, or that doesn't make sense. Like they're thinking about one of the guys that we're working for now is a good friend of mine, and regardless of any business aspect, is like we just talk about a lot of things. He goes, most people wake up and think about breakfast. I'm thinking about what I'm having for dinner on Saturday. I'm thinking way ahead, and when I have somebody that I'm working for, that I'm an employee of, that just kind of gives me something to do that is, I don't know, I don't say, but it's below my capacity. It just starts to feel like I'm wasting my time. I'm aware of the clock ticking.
Wasting your potential.
Yeah, I'm aware of the clock ticking, and I just go, I want to do things that, if I do something that wastes my time, I've made that decision. But if I'm just collecting a paycheck and watching the clock tick, I'm definitely not happy.
Yeah. Do you want to share your epiphany during all that, like your moment of realization that you were doing the wrong thing?
Oh yeah, sure. Because that could lead into a whole.
I'm sure it'll help a lot of people.
Other conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could lead into the whole, mental health aspect of things.
Right. Yeah.
We were working down in Albany, Georgia, and I was like on my third 100-hour work week, because while we worked 12 hours a day, or we were 10 to 10, like it was my job. I was the project manager, so I'm managing anything that comes in, because you're working out of a Connex box. There's only so much limited storage space, and working with the managers, also talking with business partners, or whoever I need to speak with, and those conversations happen between 9 and 5. Nobody wants to get a phone call at 3 a.m. about something. So I think it was like my third 100-hour work week, and I was like, you know what, I'm crashing. I'm no good. And I was 30. That was 20. No, that was 2008. So I was 20. What was that, maybe 20?
30, 31?
Yeah, it was like 30.
Yeah.
31, I think. And I felt like I was old, but I was like, I'm dying here, man. And so I went and got my guys going. I was like, I have got to go get some sleep. So I'm driving my car back to the hotel, and I'm on the highway, and however fast thoughts run through your head, could have been that long, could have been thinking this for miles. I don't even know. I was just kind of went into a fugue, and it was wonder what would happen if I yanked the wheel of my car right now at 80 miles an hour. Would it flip? How many times? Would it hurt? Would I die? If I didn't die and I was in the hospital and 6 hours from home, would anyone come see me? Would anyone give a shit? And however long it took that thought to pass through my head, I was like, what the fuck? And so I got to the hotel, and I sat on the edge of the bed, and I was like, what was that? That's not me. That's not how my brain works. Like, I love life, and I'm excited about what's around the next corner, and why am I thinking these thoughts? This is not cool. And I was like, it's 3 a.m. Who am I going to call? Who do I talk to about this to square this up for me? And so I sat there and thought about it. I was like, the only thing I can see is not do this, because this is what puts me here, under this measure of stress, under this measure of exhaustion. And so I called my partner the next day. I said, whenever we satisfy the last contracts that we've already signed, I'm out. I'm done. Are you sure? Yes. Done. Quit, a really high-paying job at the worst time that you could possibly quit a job like that. But it was that thing of like, there's no situation, no amount of money, no extended circumstance. Like I understand, there are going to be times where you have to put your shoulder to the wheel. You're going to lose sleep. If you want to see your goals and your dreams accomplished, it's going to require that. But to do it to the point where you lose who you are, lose what you value, to the point where just to feel something, you wonder if you have to do something drastic like that. No. That's whatever it is. I made that decision that whatever happens there has to go. Yeah. And it's not to say that there haven't been hard times since and struggles since, and where you're sitting there wondering, what am I doing with my life and whatever. But I've never been back to that point. And, if that was the high water mark for being stressed out, then I know that's the full stretch on my rubber band,
Right. Yeah.
And I just don't. I'll put myself in situations to test that in terms of like desire to achieve something, but if I find myself getting to that point again, I'm like, there's no point for me to push past that and then find myself where I've lost myself.
Yeah.
So
I wanted you to share that because I think there are a lot of people that have real talent, but they're just stuck in, they've settled for something that they're not happy with. Mm-hmm. And they're just going through the motions every day, And a lot of people are afraid to step out of their comfort zone and pursue something that they could be really good at or they could be really happy with, because change is difficult sometimes. It usually is difficult, and but also big opportunities can come with change too.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I know a few years ago when Daniel was getting back on his feet, he stepped away from a really good job that he temporarily taken. He knew it was temporary when he did it, but he was making a lot of money. I mean, subjectively a lot of money, but not. I'm sure not to you, but to most people, it was a really good job. And even I remember when you finally decided to step away from it, someone gave you a hard time about it.
Yeah.
And but I mean, you knew that it wouldn't matter, but
it was hard though. The longer I stayed there, it would have just continued to get harder and harder to leave.
Yeah.
So, I see exactly what you're saying. I think each person's just got to figure out what it is they're willing to sacrifice. I guess the only thing, like when someone makes a decision, you walked away from a 6-figure income to potentially make nothing, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an awesome decision to make as long as you understand the consequence of it.
Yeah.
Where I deviate is where people think they can walk away from the position and then they get upset when they're chasing their passion that they're not making the 6 figures.
Yeah, they feel that. I can't speak for other people, but to me that would feel like a sense of entitlement.
Right.
Like I don't.
That's
I
Yeah,
I had
that's
a conversation.
the part where I draw a line. I'm like,
Yeah, I had a conversation with my brothers a few years ago, and both of them are, they're married and they have families, and they and their spouses are high earning people, and nice houses, nice cars, all the things that come with that. Because both of my brothers are car guys. They're both master mechanics, and have always been car guys. I've always been like I love cars, but like I know what they cost, and I was like, that's not where I'm going to spend my money. I'm going to go see stuff,
right.
Do stuff, and so we were having the conversation. They're like, hey, this is after I had walked away, and this is in the midst of not vowed poverty, but just like choosing more of an artistic pursuit and willing to shoulder whatever comes with that in terms of like, well, I guess I'm just not going to go on vacation this year or whatever.
Right.
And they were like, do you ever get jealous of us? I was like, what do you mean? They're like, we got a nice house, car, and you're at the time I was in my late 30s, and they're like, you're in your 30s and you're making it work, but you do. I was like, no. I was like, because if I want what you have, I do what you do.
Yeah.
I don't want to do what you do.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm not going to have what you have. Eventually, maybe, but I'm going to get it the way that I'm getting it.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I think that's is a comparison is the thief of joy. To look at somebody else and go, well, I want what you have, and I'm not willing to do what you do, but I should still have it. That's entitlement that I don't think is appropriate.
It's not productive either.
It's not. You get stuck in that loop.
It's delusional.
And we're also I think we're fed that. Marketing machine feeds us that this idea that you should have this thing. Therefore, you are willing to leverage everything that you haven't earned yet to have something right now that makes you feel good right now. But next thing you know, that TV is going to be obsolete.
Yep.
The 40-inch, you need the 50-inch, and the 50-inch, you need the 65-inch. It's like, at some point, can you still watch TV on it? Can you still enjoy your Netflix streaming shows on that? Yeah, you can. And then put some money in some other place that maybe would feed an actual dream, not something that you want to
invest.
Yeah.
Instead of our society does not promote delayed gratification at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Promotes consumerism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And impulsive behavior.
Yeah. Which and from a business standpoint, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you want people to buy your shit.
Yeah. Obviously.